Good morning. Hello. I'm so early right now. I just couldn't wait to do this reading. She's so bossy. She's a little bossy. She bossy. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Patience, your favorite spirit medium, host of Spirit News on all major platforms. If you like or love metaphysical information, if you're awakening on your journey into heart consciousness, we have provided our observations and our data that we have gathered through the help of our spirit team, the Guild of the Golden Triangle, and we've put it for you in a very easy, formatted, episode-based podcast on all major platforms. We love you so much. We're happy to be here, showcasing the way spiritual abilities looks for us, not for you to do it like us, but for you to see that it's being done. We have been so happy to be of service. We asked the Galactic Federation for a mission to be of service for something that we could do that matches our skills, that matches our energy, our frequency, and this is what showed up. So we're developing our childhood psychic gifts. Everyone is psychic. Everyone has a soul. So therefore, everyone is psychic. Everyone's just at different levels of awareness. And the more awareness you withhold, or not withhold, but the more awareness you attain, the broader your abilities become. Okay, so we're here developing our abilities through the help of crossover loved ones. Tattva vision? What the heck is a tattva vision? Let me see. New abilities be popping up on me on the daily. Tattva vision. Tattva vision right here. Is a technique developed by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn to aid with the development of the faculty of astral clairvoyance. I can't make it up, you guys. Spirit is here. Thank you, Spirit. Yes, absolutely. So they're guiding me to be able to develop spiritual abilities. If you want to develop your own spiritual abilities, I highly recommend that you ask your spirit team. They're going to be able to guide you in the very specific way that's for your frequency, because they can see your energy at all times, and so they know what's best for where you're at, what you need next. And you can't really get to the next level until you're ready to release a lot of old things that usually are like your emotions or certain types of trauma, things like that. I had a big one. I had a big one yesterday that I released. You mean God? Yes. Yeah, spirit is just like my catch-all phrase for all the creations of God. Angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, ancestors, loved ones. There's so many facets of God that they all play their part. But not everyone resonates with God. So it's like spirit's like a catch-all phrase. Okay. I'm gonna have to look at this later. Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Oh my gosh. That's so funny because there's a triangle with a cross for their symbol. But when I was making the thumbnail of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I chose this picture. And then you guys know, if you watch me, I'll put it in the AI to make a thumbnail. And the AI will add, whatever needs to be added to make it suitable for the thumbnail. And it added a like shadowed framed picture of a triangle behind her, but she's like this with her head turned away. So I've been getting some things. I'll tell you what I'm getting from that in a minute. When it happened. So we're talking to Ruth Bader Ginsburg today. If you guys don't know who she is, I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. Not super familiar with the Ruth, with the notorious RGB. I wasn't. I'm not, politics and court stuff, and I just never really got into that stuff. But as the medium, I'm learning how to receive those who want to reveal messages, or who have a message. So I'm open, I'm open-minded, which she was not open-minded. I know that she is known for her women's rights advocacy, but other than that, she's not super open-minded. She was telling me that, and not very artistic. Her mind is more in the detail oriented, very logical, very like masculine, very like brutally honest, almost to like a fault. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Make sure you're subscribing if you like what we do here and you like getting higher perspectives of linear views here at Spirit News. We're happy to have you. If you want to follow any of our socials, you can find all of the links for that through the link tree in the description bar. We'd absolutely love to have you. We believe everyone's psychic, and so if you come here, prepare to go on a journey with us to follow the spirit clues. Spirit does not outright give all the information because it's spiritual and psychic development. So it's about following the clues and letting it unfold, and all while having fun. We don't use tarot here. Spirit has called this ability that we're developing cartomancy. I didn't know that till the other day. Cartomancy. We don't use tarot. Not because we're against it. We love tarot, but Spirit has guided us to use game cards and books and vocabulary and lots of other fun ways to speak to God. So God is not limited by your beliefs. God is omnipotent, so God can speak to you in any way they want. Okay? Oh, burning in fire. She said burning in fire and no turning back. Okay, so let's get this started. So let me tell you who she is real quick. She was born March 15th, 1933, which is very interesting because 15 times 3, or wait, 15 times, 5 times is 15, and she was born March 15th, 1933, so that's 3333333. Yeah, crazy, right? And then she passed September 18th, 2020. I almost said 1920. She grew up in like a chunk of time that was affected by the Depression, so in poverty, okay? She was weird, her first name's Joan Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Interesting, but she goes by Ruth. Was an American lawyer and jurist who served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1993 until her death in 2020. She was nominated by President Bill Clinton to replace retiring Justice Byron White. At the time, was viewed as a moderate consensus builder. So she died at 87. She's famous for trailblazing advocate for gender equality and women's rights before joining the Supreme Court, and later for her powerful dissents and legal opinions as a Supreme Court justice, cementing her legacy as a champion for equal justice under law, even earning the nickname Notorious RBG for her fight against discrimination. Which is really contradictory, the energy I'm getting from her, because it's like, it almost feels like, okay, so you helped in one way, she was like for women's rights and stuff, but there's something, I don't know, like not open-minded about her. There's something very like rigid about her, very like inflexible, very like narrow-minded. And she said no turning back and burning in fire. So I got a vision the other day, and she showed me her she showed me her when she was young. Young. She kind of looked like that, but with like lipstick on. And she showed me at a school. I don't know what kind of school, but it looked like it could have burn marks. Thank you. It looked like it could have been a very prestigious school. I think she went to Harvard Law. Harvard Law. Yeah, I feel like it was a fancy school. It could have been Harvard Law. And she showed me this dinner she went to with this man. He could have been a professor or like someone who runs the school. He had a like giant library office. Someone who's a big part of the school. And there were other women there, but not many. Maybe like 8. They were all invited to like have dinner with him, and they were having dinner and they were talking, and it felt kind of ominous in there. It felt kind of like like knowing that you're not just there for dinner, like I don't know, it felt ominous. Hey, Robin! And then, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for all your support and love. We appreciate you. And I'm talking about my vision that Ruth sent me. She sent me a vision of this dinner she had at an Ivy League school, perhaps Harvard Law, because there's like, I don't know, the way the building looks and stuff, it kind of looks like Harvard. But anyway, she was invited to have dinner with this guy who like runs the school or something, or is like a prestigious professor, and it had like all these books, and it was like a library in there. But it was like ominous. It was like dimly lit for a dinner. I don't know, it felt weird. And there were 8 women that he invited, no men. And he was having a conversation with the women at the table. And he was asking like weird questions that it almost felt like he was trying to trigger emotional responses out of the women with like this assumption that women are, overly emotional and, wanting to elicit a reaction. Almost like weeding out, it kind of felt like. But I don't think the women were like taking it that way. I think that they were trying to make a good impression and trying not to upset this man and ooh, throat shakalaka. And so they go through dinner, they're, drinking this, it looks like wine, but it might be something else. I don't know. And as the questions get a little like more invasive, Ruth is like the only one that's like has the best poker face. She's not showing any emotion. She's not showing I got here to watch your head without sound. Distraction, sorry. She was the only one that wasn't showing her uncomfortableness. She was very stoic. She was very like emotionless. She was not showing any outward emotion. And when the dinner was over, everyone was like a little more like loosened up. It's so funny because yeah, see how this woman's got a cage and there's birds flying around? It was kind of like he was trying to see which one I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'm just telling you what she showed me. And then, yeah, she's showing me a memory. You will hear it. Yeah, she's showing me a memory. And then So the dinner's over. They're like all a little looser. He's gotten these uncomfortable questions out of the way. He's kind of like the seeker. Yeah, he's seeking out a specific like quality in these women to put a mask on for sure. He's like, but I don't know why. But in the, well, I kind of know why, but we'll see. And then after the dinner, he proposes to have, he doesn't call it a seance, but that's what it is. He says that it's a tradition and it's what, all the men do to be part of this, like, part of the Harvard University or whatever, law university. And so the women are like, oh, well, if the guys are doing it, kind of thing. And they sit in this circle that's away from the dinner table in this other room. And it's already set up. So it's like either he does this a lot or he knew that this is where he wanted it to go. And they all sit in this circle and they hold hands and they start to like, he starts to do this like chant thing. And the other girls are look kind of scared and they look like, kind of apprehensive. And the seance doesn't go all the way through, but because the girls get too scared. But Ruth is the only one who decides to stay. And it's in that moment where she kind of like sealed her fate or whatever, or sealed her in cement the connection to like elitism or I don't know, something like that. The powers that be, because I got scholar, so she was definitely like intrigued by the questions and there's something about her growing up in poverty and wanting to have like a specific life that matches and this like expectation of her. She's definitely very smart. I'm not denying that, but there's also a triangle here, and in the picture I chose for the thumbnail, that old framed picture that's in the shadows behind her has a giant triangle. And so she's interested in the unseen potential. She's interested because this professor, since she was the only one, gives her a proposition. But the thing is that this school or these people that run this school or this person is they're seeking out a specific type of person that will wear a mask, that's not afraid to wear a mask. Yes, exactly, Robin. I know, right? And her... I can manipulate your thoughts, yes. And her birthday's 3/15/33, and 5 times is 3, so that's 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So definitely something about threes. But because she had this chip on her shoulder, which is what these people look for, they need you to want something so bad. What are you willing to do for it? What are you willing to put a mask on? What are you willing to turn a blind eye to? What are you willing to do to be in position? And not a lot of, it's a minority, because a lot of people, I believe that a lot of people have a moral compass, and so it's not, it's hard to get people to do something that's against their morals, okay, or values, or what society deems as moral. And so the things that they do are not socially acceptable. So you have to find a specific type of person. And I think that's why Scientology does the testing as well before you go into Scientology. Because if you have a certain energy signature that isn't corruptible, that isn't greedy, that isn't vain, or want some kind of notoriety, then it's not going to work on you, The motherfucking cornbread. Metaphysics is not necessarily witchcraft. Exactly, yeah. It's not, I don't think she was doing witchcraft, but I do think that it's a very fraternal order. And in that time frame when she went to the school, it was 1954, there wasn't a lot of women that entered, but they do divination abuse. So I'm sure they could see that there were timelines where it would be useful to have a woman in position. And so she was the only one in this dinner party that was very stoic, that didn't, budge when he asked very sexist, very condescending questions. She was the only one that didn't show, I'm not saying she wasn't uncomfortable, but she was very stoic, and she didn't show a lot of uncomfortability. And so that was a sign that to him that she really cares about the way she looks to him. And so that was like part of the spark. And then when they started the seance and it was too much for the other woman, she was the one who said, come on, let's, we're at the greatest school for law in the world and we're asked to come to dinner. And, she gave this like speech or whatever. But they didn't go through with it at that time, but she was brought back later to throat shakalaka. Throat shakalaka, please remove any throat shakalaka blockages. She was invited back because of her openness to do the seance in the first place, okay? And so that's the memory she gave me. I don't know if that's true. Anything I say is for entertainment purposes only. I cannot prove it in a court of law. And it's all allegedly, okay? So let's do it. So she definitely knows about something hidden. Spirit has said forbidden knowledge 3 times since I've been sitting here before I started. I can show you, actually. Let me show you the transcript log. She said altered states of consciousness, hold hands, greed, library, missing. Damn. Thank you. Thank you, Eddie. She said presuppositions, which I looked up, and it says, Jane no longer writes fiction. Have you stopped eating meat? Those are just examples of a presupposition. A thing tactically assumed beforehand at the beginning of a line of argument or course of action. So there's something that she was presented with beforehand that she knew was something that was forbidden knowledge. She was given this choice that she chose. She was a 3. Where is it? Forbidden knowledge. Yeah, forbidden. It's hard to see, but it's in there. Forbidden knowledge. Burn marks. I can manipulate your thoughts. Burning in fire. And I have this, no turning back. So she definitely, and seance. Yeah. And that's what I saw in my vision the other day. Okay. So because she grew up in poverty, she grew up in this chunk of time in the depression, or like overcoming the depression. There's something about her and her family's expectations. She was Jewish, so maybe it's like a cultural expectation to like go to Ivy League schools, 1111 in the chat, and just have a very high status and financial stability, things like that. She's definitely a very smart girl. I'm not going to take that away from her. Very analytical, very logical, very like not, I wouldn't say she was very artistic at all. She definitely wasn't artistic. She was very like left brain, masculine energy. And it was funny, I was looking at all her pictures, and when she was young, she was very soft and very beautiful and very feminine. And it's like after the Harvard Law School is when she started to become more masculine, because you have to understand, she's like very few women in a school full of men. And she has the chip on her shoulder of wanting to be a part of this, greater picture of being this great lawyer, the greatest female lawyer in the world. But she grows up in a time where men dominate everything. And it's not very common for women to want to be a lawyer and not be like a housewife or whatever they put us in. And so she has a lot of pressure on her to be the person that graduates from these places. Yes, very competitive. And so she wants very badly to be the scholar. And so when it's either the dean, I think it's the dean, I don't know for sure. I'm just showing you what she told me. It's hard for me to know like details like that, but it kind of feels like somebody in charge. He's pulls her aside, and once the women leave, and says, I have an opportunity for you. You seem to fit the criteria that we're looking for a very specific position, but it requires your dedication and loyalty for the rest of your life. And there's no turning back. Once you join, there's no turning back. You can't get out. And so there's something about her finding that very interesting and wanting that so badly to be the scholar, that she doesn't hesitate for the unseen potential that is being presented to her by this man who really only chose her because of that chip on her shoulder. So Spirit really wants us to, or Ruth really wants us to, 1111, again, to tell you, to get this across to you guys. They only target people that are easily manipulated because they have a chip on their shoulder. They want to be the best at this, or the biggest this, or make the most money, because I also had greed earlier. And so the other people that were in that circle showed empathy and compassion and had emotional responses to, feeling the jabs of condensation. That's not right. Of why can't I think of that word? Condescending questions. If you throw shade in the channel, will not be in this channel. Respect. Oh, thank you, Robin. You're the best. And so she jumped at the opportunity for unseen potential. All I have to do is join a fraternity. I'll be the only woman in this fraternity. She was looking at it as this big opportunity to go to this Ivy League school and have the backing of many, professional men to be side by side with. And so she's considering that a great opportunity. But I don't think she really truly understands the sacrifices she'll have to make. And it's funny that she said presupposition, because it kind of goes with her being a lawyer. A thing tactically assumed beforehand at the beginning of a line of argument or course of action. So, and then it says, an example is, have you stopped eating meat? Question mark. Assumes the listener used to eat meat. These hidden truths are triggered by words such as again and stopped. Or definite descriptions like King of France, which assume existence. They reveal background knowledge the speaker assumes the listener shares. So, Ruth, are you saying that you could have, participated in eating a particular kind of meat? Or it might not be literal, it might be metaphorical, like taking the bait, or eating, drinking the Kool-Aid, things like that. Oh, thank you so much, Ghost. Thank you so much. So she made a choice. She made a choice to bind herself to this group and to have her hands tied and to join forces, to anchor in. But the thing is because this group operates on such a low, they're very cutthroat. It kind of is, it's a boys club. And you know how 7-Eleven on the clock, you know how it's a different environment when you're with a group of men and you're the only woman. You have to conform to the environment or the energy that you're in the most. And so she started to become very hardened and very masculine looking. And I was looking at her pictures from then and now, and she really just looks very masculine. And then I was looking at Judge Judy Scheinlin because I'm like, oh, that's so funny. They're like the same age. They're both Jewish. They both had great education. They're both judges. They're both lawyers. And so I was like, and what we know with polarity and duality, there's always going to be your twin that is the opposite of you. So if 1111 again in the chat. So I looked at it and I realized, Judge Judy could have been the polarity of Ruth, Judy and Ruth, because Judge Judy, you can see the light in her face and you can see that she's lighter. But it's funny because she has a harsher personality where she's a little tougher, and Ruth had a softer personality, but she's more masculine. So it's very interesting how, the dynamics of the soft one has the harsher personality and is a little more, strict in her beliefs and her values, and she's more, she holds a higher moral standard, and she can come off harsh, but she looks softer and younger. And Ruth is more masculine and more, has heavier, more sharper features like a man, and has a quieter voice and is more soft-spoken and talks very slow. So I saw the difference of that. I went to law school full of ruthless people. Yeah, I'm sure you did. But Judge Judy has the power to legally enforce her truth. Interesting. For sure. I love Judge Judy. I really do. There's something about Judge Judy that just, I don't know. I just love her so much. Okay, so the Harvard Law, let me see who the dean was in 1954. Because I'd like to see if he matches the memory she showed me. That would be wild, you guys. Who was the dean of Harvard Law School in 1954? Erwin Nathaniel Griswold. I mean, to be fair, just like a standard white man. Just a standard gray, wrinkly white man. So, yes. Yeah, so he proposed, she was the only one left. He proposed an opportunity to her. She didn't hesitate. She saw it as an opportunity to solidify her crown in her scholarly pursuits, to be the number one. She bound herself and anchored herself into this group and became one with the darkness. She joined forces, okay, and became the witch. Now, I'm not saying that literally. We have to understand that these are archetypes, and even though there are people that call themselves witches and do like rituals and stuff, you can also just be a witch through your thoughts and intentions. And if your intentions are more money, more fame, doing whatever it takes to get those things, and running people over, and hurting people to be in position, you're a witch. And it's an archetype. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you're lighting candles at night and creating spells, but your thoughts, the way you think, the way you treat people, the way your intentions, if you've bound yourself to a darker energy where you're in a environment that thrives on cutthroatism, competition, and being number one, you're going to adopt those qualities. And so that's what she did. Okay, so she's saying that right now, and there is no turning back. This is a legally binding in the spirit and in physical. So there's no turning back once she decided to be a part of this fraternity. Okay. All right. I will say she was sincere with her word. She wasn't known to mince words. She'd tell you right out. And she was attentive. She was very good with details. She could remember dates and times and, cases and case files. And so she was very valuable in that way to them, because they needed a woman influence for, going into the future to solidify things they needed to have a woman's perspective. So they sought her out, and she passed a couple tests. And so now she wears a mask. Benjamin Franklin. And she wears the mask now, okay? Oh, thank you so much, Terminator. I have intentions of ruling the world. Cotton candy for everybody. Oh, cotton candy. I don't love cotton candy, but I love the smell of it. Okay. So that was her early years. So now we're in the fraternity, okay? We're bound by blood. We're tied in, anchored in, no turning back. There ain't no turning back, okay? Bridges are burned. You can't go back to the past. Once you're in this club, the only way out is death. Okay? And they don't, people don't be wanting to die. Okay? So, for I am the sun, ego, vitality, purpose, life force, consciousness, masculine energy. Here she is. She's like, I'm in it. I'm with the big wigs. I'm running shit. I'm here. F you. I say what goes. I have a say. I have power. But I wear this smile on my face. I'm telling you, she was not very open-minded. There's something about her being discriminatory in other ways. Maybe not towards women, but some, like maybe towards black people or things like that. Something like that. Okay? I don't know what exactly. I don't have examples, but I'm just saying the feeling that I'm getting. Okay? And then for the moon, I feel I have an astronaut, so she feels like she's above everyone. She feels like she's in the boys' club. Just like a man feels when he joins a man's club, and especially this one, you feel like you can do anything you want. Like there's no stopping you. You're on top of the world. You're above. Astronauts above. That rules habits, securities, instincts, emotions. And she's in her masculine energy, so I wouldn't say that she's overly emotional. She's just very logical, very, it is what it is. I feel she doesn't really use those words. She doesn't use the words I feel. She uses the words I think, which is Mercury. She's very intellectual. She's very... It's almost like a lack of emotions. Very, very monotone. Very kind of like Daria. I'm getting Daria vibes. La 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 la. Very Daria vibes, but but having an air of entitlement because of being in this fraternity. Okay, coffee's in my cup, and it's not strong enough, but that's okay. And then for Venus, I love shine like the stars. So she's someone who doesn't feel loved unless people are, giving her praise and telling her how smart she is, and telling her a lot of outward validation. She needs outward validation to feel like she's valid. Okay. And so in her position, she really likes the attention. She likes people telling her how smart she is. She likes people, letting her know that, she's so smart for how she got here and na. And then for I act, for Mars, for which is action, energy, conflict, passion, sex drive, and aggression. Live well, love lots, and laughed often. So you have to remember that these are fertility cults, and the fertility cult is run by mostly men who have the highest sex drive, and who also have the hardest time controlling their urges. And so when you're in a environment where this is happening, you either participate or there's no turning back. So participation is required. Okay? So you better find a way to participate. And so love lots. Love lots, a lot of action. This may have been a conflict for her in the beginning, something she had to turn a blind eye to. Like in the picture, the thumbnail I chose, her hand is up like this and her face is turned away from the triangle, because to her, it's giving her what she needs to feel validated, through the entitlement and through the proximity to powerful people. Okay. And powerful, I want to say corporations, but I don't think that's the word. Just powerful bodies of, the school and law offices and lawyers and judges, just being in proximity. She said fraternity cult, not all men. 1990s. Well, I think there was a time where it was just men, and they were reluctant to let women in, and that's why they had this dinner, because women are going to be more inclined to be more nurturing, more compassionate, more empathetic, and they're less inclined to do institutes. Yes, thank you so much, Ninja. Thank you so much. That was the word, institutes. I love you. And women are going to be less inclined to abuse, and it's usually men. And no offense to men, I'm not saying this in a bad way. It's just because of the energy, but the energy's shifting, so it's going to be less of this going forward. But in the past, men are targeted because men are more likely to be, have a propensity to more violent behavior, or being more cutthroat, or being more competitive, and lacking empathy, and having like more of an ego to attach to. Whereas women are the mothers, and so they just naturally have more empathy and compassion, so they're a little harder to get to come on board to the things that go on in the fraternity, or the fertility cult. Okay, so she was a lesbian. I don't know. I think she could have been bisexual, or she could have, it kind of reminds me of Fergie's emails to Epstein, where she was describing to Epstein what she was allowing to happen to her daughter at these parties. running trains on her, and like just really like wild orgy deities, yeah, because they have to do the fertility ritual that includes backdoor action and the womb. And so because they have false idols that require this type of energy exchange. Okay, God created women to be the helper, men were meant to lead. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. Does it look like men are good leaders? Does it look like men have been good leaders? I mean, men are responsible for most crimes and rapes and violence. So I don't know if that's true. But in this situation, it's mostly men in this fraternity that she's part of, and you either participate or you die, because there's no turning back. I think that leaders depend on the person, and it can be a man or a woman. I don't think that one is better than the other or should be the one that leads than the other. I think it depends on the person and where they're at in their journey and on their moral compass. If there's any human that's willing to take money for bribes or position or secrecy or anything that is of low moral standards, then they're not going to be a good leader. And every single human that we have it as a leader, man and woman, are horrible leaders. Okay? Agreed. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. The collective is most important, absolutely. What's the point of these groups? To gain favors from gods and demons? Yes. Yes, so we talked about this a little more in yesterday's reading. If you want to, I'll speak on it a little bit right now, but if you want more detail, you can go to yesterday's reading. It's titled Today's 5D News. And so what we're understanding about these cults is that they're ancient. And we just give them that word cult to describe it, because it's a lot of people who believe in the same. Yes, thank you so much for being here. Absolutely, Robin. Because they believe from an ancient religious practices that go all the way back to to Abraham, where they were doing sacrificial, it goes back to Sodom and Gomorrah, where they became addicted to doing fertility rituals. And that's why they call it sodomy, because it's not that they want to perform sodomy, it's that they extract energy from that place on men. And the way they extract that energy from women is, through the normal intercourse. But it's the way that they manipulate energy to receive physical abundance. But that it's an exchange of energy. And so they're basically inverting divine energy to extract energy for physical manifestations. And in yesterday's reading, we were saying that they've been doing this for so long, and that's the reason why they keep it in bloodlines, because they need specific types of people who have a chip on their shoulder. And the way that they perpetuate that is through generational curses, by keeping it in the family. If the family can perpetuate this mentality, then they won't think that it's wrong, and they'll continue to do it with each generation. And so, what did Ninja say? Do you believe in God? Yes, I do. I once heard a slightly different one that I like. Women should make the world a happy place. Men should make the world a safe place. But we can both. Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that. Yes, inherit sin. And so when you have to understand that they get these fertility rituals done on them as children. And so when they grow up, they don't think that there's anything wrong with it. But as we get closer to the sun, more of us start to wake up and realize that those are the very actions and things that make us feel bad emotionally. And we're starting to come out of that. And so that's why it's infested many other outsiders that are outside of the bloodline. But you have to go through a series of tests to show if you have that same chip on your shoulder or on your field of, being hungry and thirsty from, you come from an impoverished family, or you have abuse in your own family, or you want validation outside of yourself. These are specific things they look for to see if your heart chakra is turned off. They need people who lack empathy and compassion and who have an overactive root chakra that needs security and control. And those are the ones they target. So if you want to know like more about it, that's like a little synopsis. But if you want to know more about it, we talked in depth about it yesterday. There must be so many of these cults across the world, unfortunately. I don't know. I think it is. I think it's greater than we ever could have imagined, for sure. I think we're definitely waking up to it now, fortunately, and we're happy to help. And Ruth Bader is definitely somebody who's going to help us understand it from her perspective. So, thank you guys for being here, for helping us with the messages. So she did participate in the fertility rituals. You don't really have a choice once you're in. It's a blood oath that you're sworn into. You're bound by blood in the spirit. And I'm learning. I don't know everything about it. I've definitely never sworn anything in blood before. But from what we understand, it's a binding legal contract in the spirit. And what it does is it connects you to them. It binds your spirit to them. So even if you decide to leave, you decide to stop eating the meat, you decide to stop doing the fertility rituals, well, then since your soul is bound to them, they have a cord connected to you. Throw shakalaka, blockages. They have a cord connected to you, and they can use like a dark psychic or a dark practitioner to send you their necromancer, so they can send other people who have crossed over already that they keep in purgatory to do their bidding on the spiritual realm, and they can send that spirit to you by the cord that's connected, and they can give you a heart attack, or they can give you a stroke, or they can put you in a car crash, or things like that. And so there's no turning back. So she did it. Under Jupiter, I grow. I add a little confetti every day. So that's religion, optimism, good luck, expansion, philosophy, and abundance. So the thing that happens, and this kind of reminds me of Jim Carrey, the thing that happens in these fertility cults is that it is a religion. It's the religion of Baal. It's or to Moloch, or whatever one you want, whatever one. They're all pretty much the same. They all require the same sacrifices. You have to make the best of it because you're bound in blood. And so this thing happens in a human mind where if you were to think about the things that you're actually doing or participating in, you'd probably go into cognitive dissonance and have go into psychosis. Okay, so what the brain does is it creates a justification. Oh, well, I'm getting cosmic knowledge. I have forbidden knowledge that nobody else has, and I'm doing things that provide abundance for me. So it must be an expansive philosophical idea. And so they try to make they're justifying it through optimism. And so add a little confetti every day. Well, I have everything I want. So, what's the big deal? I get everything I want. So what's the big deal? Kind of like that. That's what I'm getting. Under Saturn, which is a lot, what a lot of them, if, we watched this music video the other day that came to us through Entertain. Thank you, Spirit. In the entertainment world, they have to tell you what they do. It's like a cosmic law. They have to tell you what they do, not verbally, but symbolically to your subconscious mind. because your subconscious mind understands things before your conscious mind does. And that's how spirit speaks to you too, a divine spirit, through your subconscious mind. So it can go both ways. But they have to tell the collective who they are and what they're doing, because it's against cosmic law to do things that are not aware to us subconsciously. So in the entertainment world, they'll put in pictures of Saturn, or numbers of 666, or whatever symbology will represent what they're a part of. And so I was watching this music video that came on my Spotify the other day, and it was this French music group, and the very first scene is a mobile of Saturn, and then it pans down, and then it shows the address block, and it's 666. And in this music video, they literally show people killing and stabbing, like, don't even hide it. It was wild. And so that's Saturn. So it's definitely something about Saturn. Worshipping of Saturn is like Moloch and Baal and stuff. Under Saturn is I achieve honor, wisdom, ambition, structure, discipline, restriction. The 100th house, Capricorn. And it says, sometimes fear does not subside and you must do it afraid. So, exactly. Yes, Ninja. Thank you. Yep. So she's admitting that she did a lot of things in this fertility cult that scared the shit out of her. But like I said, there's no turning back. And so either you participate or you die. You're not going to be the one person who signed up and bound yourself in blood and not participate. If you want the abundance, you have to participate. But the participation requires inversion.
I will set it off.
I will set it off. Ruth says, I'll set it off. Because she's not crossed over. She's stuck. When you're in this cult, you don't get to go home because of the guilt and shame of the inversion rituals that they're told to do to get abundance. Okay. Why does your nose lean to one side? When I was, I think in like 6th grade, I was jumped by my neighbor, and she broke my nose. She actually, she's crossed over as well. And she actually she did brujeria or whatever. I don't know how to say it. She was a bruja. She actually got level 4 stage 4 cancer for doing witchcraft against me. That's what happens when you do witchcraft against people that aren't a match to it. You're not creating energy. You're just using your own energy with your horrible intention, projecting it to someone that doesn't have the same intention. It has to go somewhere because it's not being absorbed by that person, and it goes back. And so she got stage 4 cancer and died a couple years ago. That's how it works. So she did have to do 6. I told you she did have to do things that she didn't like doing sometimes under Saturn. The things that, you have to remember that these people have structure and discipline a different way, where they do these rituals like clockwork in the same way, in the same fashion, over and over again, because it works. Doing these things gives them abundance, makes them millionaires, gets them rich, gets them countries, gets them anything they want, physically, monetarily. And so, but the things that you have to do are direct inversion of your divine energy. Your divine energy doesn't require anything like that to get abundance or to be abundant. And so that's how Saturn gets you. That's how Saturn tricks you. They make these people believe that by doing these things, they'll get like a seat in hell, or they'll be like the #1 general in hell. they play on their trickster entities. They need you to get in a position of guilt and shame, so when you cross over, you'll be stuck, and then they can perpetuate the cycle. That's where the tale of the prison planet comes in. It's not a prison planet. You imprison yourself through your guilt and shame. And when you decide to forgive yourself for the things you did for abundance, then you can go home. So it's not that you can't go home. Mention the unseen. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me continue. Sorry. She said, keep going. And then Uranus is I evolve. And that's freedom, progress, rebellion, awakening, originality, sudden change. Though Pisces, those aren't butterflies in my stomach. She said they're shooting stars. Yeah, so it's giving me like over time, years of doing the same thing, you start to you start to stomach it. You start to get used to it. This could be the meat. They all eat the meat. To be a shooting star, they feel like, because if you don't do it, if you don't eat the meat, if you don't eat, no energy, if you don't do the ritual, you have no energy. Because the ritual takes from your energy, and then when you're in deficit of your vital force, that's why you do the rituals. They think that it's to get abundance, but it's because you have no energy. So you feel like you literally can't get out of bed. You feel like, it kind of reminds me of I'm Getting Jennifer's Body, where she had that ritual done on her, but she wasn't actually a virgin, and so it just put a demon in her vessel that needed to feed on humans, not because she couldn't eat regular food. She had to get her vital force from other people's energy, and that's why she would eat the meat. Okay. Are you a witch? No, I'm not. Thank you, Robin. She wants you to mention the unseen for intention that is not good. Yes. We're getting to that now. We're getting to Neptune and then Pluto, and this is where the unseen part is. I dream. I dream is my give a fuck meter. Dreams, illusions, intuition, sensitivity, spirituality, psychic ability. And I dream, the unseen. So she's saying, once you get to a level of doing it for so long, you start to lose your ability for empathy, for compassion. You start to just not give a fuck. This is what you do now. This is part of your life. You can't not do it because you'll feel horrible, and you might die. You might be haunted. They'll send spirits to you to haunt you. There might have been a couple times in the beginning where she thought she couldn't do it, but sometimes fear does not subside and you must do it afraid. But she did it anyway because she has so much to lose. And then for Pluto, I empower sex, death, obsession, underworld, blood ties, regeneration, linked to reproductive function. So she could have given up her kids, put her kids into the oath as well. Blood ties, once you're in it, the children that you have to indoctrinate them as well. That's part of the agreement. So her children could have been indoctrinated at a young age. And what I want to say about that is sometimes you don't even remember that you're indoctrinated. And you're indoctrinated through sexual abuse, but at a young age. You might not even remember that they did it to you, because they might have did it to you until you got to a certain age where you started to resist those actions. But when you're young, you think that, oh, this is my mom, this is my dad, they love me, this is the way they love me. And then you get to a certain age where you're like, what are you doing? You might say something. So, but once it's done, that stain on your field is going to be there even if you don't remember it, and you can recall it later. I definitely recalled mine yesterday, which is so wild that this is coming up. And in the shower, I was putting Epsom salt on my feet, and I had a spontaneous memory recovery. I had remembered bits and pieces of the specific memory, but I remembered the full memory. And, I had to release that. That was something that we needed to release. So she's definitely saying, when you're part of a fertility death cult and the initiation is fertility ritual, and you need to do that in order to even be, to feel good, you definitely can project that onto your children, okay? Even if you don't remember that they did it, okay? So that's the unseen. So that's kind of like the little rundown of like her timeline. They have to constantly do these rituals to feel good. And so it's to this point where it's like, how do I even do anything else? How do I even do anything else? I don't think the Roman god Saturn actually did personally a debaucherous ascension form. It must default to Shabbat. Oh yeah, they definitely inverted it. I don't naturally,
Resubmitted.
resubmitted. It says resubmitted. Yeah, these are all inversions of divine principalities, and so they have to invert divine principalities because it needs to be the opposite for it to work or whatever, or for it to, I don't really understand it completely, but I know that it's always the inversion, and it really comes down to like guilt and shame, because those are the emotions that bind you to your own actions, that keep you stuck in the void, where they can utilize you as necromancers to like do their bidding, and then once you're in this void, you want to have human experience again, but God said, well, you're in the void, you're not allowed to reincarnate again until you come home, until you let go of those things. And so they want to reincarnate so they can experience physicality again, but they can't. So the way they try to find shortcuts for that by body jumping or vessel jumping, or the clones. We talked about the clones yesterday. They make the clones so they can have a temporary experience, but the clones aren't, they're very temporary, and they're a copy of a copy of a copy. And they only want to clone people who have, fame and fortune, because that's the only way that they get energy, through outward validation, because they're not willing to let go of their guilt and shame of all the things they've done. And so that's unfortunately, that's Ruth right now. She's in a place where she participated, and so you can absolutely let go. You can absolutely come to a place where you forgive yourself, and once you decide to do that, or once you can do that, and it can take however long it takes, there's no time over there, so you will be running in a loop of your actions on the other side. Unfortunately, you will be living the experiences that cause you the greatest guilt and shame over and over and over again. And so that's Ruth. So we hope by doing these reads, or we don't hope, we know by answering the call and doing these reads, when we reveal what needs to heal, it does help them to cross over, or to at least get to the next level of letting go. It's definitely like ultimately up to them whether they want to let go or not. The Roman deity Saturn deserves to be totally pissed with such behavior. Yes, a complete insult to the golden age. Yeah, absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, I think Lady Gaga hung out with Ruth Ginsburg. Oh, I'm sure they all did. And it's funny because, like I said, if you guys go take the time to just put in Judy Shineland and Ruth Ginsburg, you can see the difference in the energy, and you can feel it. And the reason why we got Ruth is because, she was she was so high in the judicial system, and she was so recognized by a lot of celebrities and stuff. We wondered, well, if celebrities hold her on such a high pedestal, and she is at such a high level or rank in our society, what did she do for that? What did she have to do for that? And so now we know. Excuse me. I'm getting a little stuffy. So thank you so much. So let's learn. We'll do a little bit longer, like maybe 20 more minutes. Ruth, tell us about yourself. We'll do an imagine if. I rolled a 5. Imagine if Ruth were something to look through. 5. Safety goggles. Safety goggles. Yeah, she may have seen some crazy shit, you guys. She may have kept a lot of secrets safe. You a gangsta gal. Oh, thank you so much. I'm a spiritual gangster. I'm God's gangster. Oh, gee. She may have kept a lot of people's secrets safe. What kind of secrets have you seen? What do you know, Ruth? Tell us some secrets about some people. Ooh, imagine if blank were a criminal. 4. Robin Hood. Imagine if Robin Hood were a criminal. Oh, imagine if... I don't know. Imagine if somebody were a criminal. They'd pretend to be Robin Hood. They'd pretend to give money to the... steal money from the rich to give it to the poor. Who dis? Ruth, who's pretending to be Robin Hood? Who's a criminal? They're really all criminals, honestly. Imagine if they were thirsty. 4. Orange juice. OJ. Orange juice. Orange. Yeah, they use the sacral chakra. That's where your emotions lie. So they need you to be 2010s. That's how they get you. They need you. They want people who are thirsty, people who are hungry for more, people who are never satisfied, people who are not fulfilled now, that don't know how to be happy now. 2. Imagine if Ruth were a body part, a buttocks. She's like, I was an asshole. She's like, I was an ass. I was around a bunch of asses. I became an ass. I perpetuated assism. She's an ass perpetuator because she had the spirit of envy on her. She had the spirit of envy. She looked at, other people and wanted to become more. And there's nothing wrong with that, but in what ways are you willing to get there? Is it so important that... How can we get some secrets? What do you know? What are some secrets you know? Tell us. I don't know. I think I'm being called to my story generator. I'm being called to my story generator. Ruth, tell us about some secrets. What kind of secrets do you know? These cards are a little awkward, but... A reformed hitman. A reformed hitman. The oldest man in the world. Longing for a simpler life. After a failed bank heist. Leads the charge against the zombie apocalypse. Finds an atomic bomb. A buried atomic bomb. Vowing not to bathe for an entire year. Let me get 2 more. Receives messages from God. 1,000 years from now. That's so funny. Okay, so
Bruce.
bruise. So there's somebody here who's a fake Robin Hood, who's actually a criminal, who's an ass, a reformed hitman, who could be a body jumper, a body snatcher, someone who's has a very old lineage of passed down forbidden knowledge that claims to receive messages from God, but they're not from God. They're vowing not to bathe for an entire year. They're completely stained. This person's field is not clear as a marble. It's stained, it's dirty. When your field is that way, you're only going to receive messages from things that match it. If you want to receive divine messages, you have to clear your field of guilt and shame. Who do I think? Well, it says finds a buried atomic bomb. So I don't know. I would kind of think it could be someone political, a leader, someone who has political ties. I don't know. I have the alphabet dice. Maybe we could get some letters. Maybe we could get some letters about it. Let me see. All right, this might be a little loud. Okay. I see Nancy. I see Wade. I see BS. Fog. Cannon. I see Schmurder. Rider. I see Dark Rider. H. Damned. The Damned.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have. Lord. Mad lad. I think it's a man. All right.
Pop their clogs.
Popped their clogs. Spirit said popped their clogs. I don't know what that means. Popped their clogs. Spirit, what does that mean? Popped their clogs. You can blow up, you can cry. Keep that flame in your eye. You're no maniac, girl. Passion isn't a disease. Don't go down on your knees. You're no maniac. I know you know. The person you want to be, I know you dare to bear your fragility. I know you know our invisibility could last an eternity. I know you know. It's not that you want to flee. I know you stay despite the intensity. It's not your reality, but what is reality? I know you know. There is simplicity. I long for a simpler life with OWAF on it. OW Fauci? Fauci? Damn. FAOW? FAOW? Fau Schwartz? Fau Schwartz? Isn't that a toy store? Who owns FAO Schwartz? Who owns FAO Schwartz? 360 Group. owns and operates FAO Schwartz brand, having acquired it from Toys R Us in 2016. The California-based consumer products company revamped the retailer, blah, 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 but operated by 360 Group. David Kahn, CEO.
Died.
Guide. I don't know, something about 4. Oh, okay. Something about for families, for people. I'm the last male for a reason, would do what everyone else was doing, listen to Jesus, study Jesus worthy. I'm from Holland. Oh, hello, lady vagabond. Talk about why spell work as female. I'm sorry, you may reach salvation eventually. Abandoned child. Nancy Pelosi. Oh, I did see Nancy.
Potentially.
Potentially. Spirit said potentially. I think the one person that is the common denominator in all this is not an actual person, but the person who believes that houses the most evil. I think it's the person that thinks that they're the most exalted. But it's like, I don't know, it's like I can't see it for some reason. It's like, I don't know, I can't see it. It's like veiled to me right now. It might be too soon to reveal. Spirit might be putting more things into place before specificities are revealed. They might need that person to be at a certain place vibrationally, or through some kind of action that they're going to take before we reveal like more detail than that. Interesting. Okay. Well, that was fun to try something different. What else? Something about a maze. The Spirit said maze twice, and I see maze on the tiles. So very interesting. Light exposes the darkness. The sun follows the moon. Yes, absolutely. And you have no light within you. Oh. Well, sorry you feel that way. So, Ruth, what are the kinds of things that were expected of you in your position that you carried out? What are some of the things? We have about 7 minutes. We'll look in our... Wait, do I want to look in literature? Let's look in philosophy. We'll look in philosophy. And then we'll end it with a little Thich Nhat Hanh. Ruth, what are some of the philosophies that on the eve? Tell us what you did, or things that you participate in, or tell us anything. What do you think? An inquiry concerning human understanding, David Hume, of the origin of ideas. Everyone will readily allow that there is a considerable difference between the perceptions of the mind when a man feels the pain of excessive heat, which is so funny because I just had to move my heater because it was burning my leg, or the pleasure of moderate warmth, and when he afterwards recalls to his memory this sensation or anticipates it by his imagination. These faculties may mimic or copy the perceptions of the senses, but they never can entirely reach the force and vivacity of the original sentiment. Absolutely. So she's saying that she had this idea in her mind of what her career would look like. She'd be the first woman to, I just heard a noise. She wanted, in her mind, she imagined her impact being a specific way. And it cop
Diaries.
and it copied a sentiment or a feeling that she was excited about. She was excited. And so in that excitement, her perception made her unable to discern the excessive pain of the heat to moderate warmth. You know, it was when you gain abundance in this way, the only way that you can feel vivacity because you've given all your vital force away is by doing the most extreme things. And it becomes a part of your idea and your identity. And you can't feel the warmth without feeling the heat because of the way that you're proceeding to attain abundance. Okay? And so it's not actually vitality that they're feeling, it's the mimicry of it. And that's why they have to keep doing it over and over and over again to feel something. Because when you give your power away, or when you give your energy away, or when you do these rituals, or when you choose to act in these ways, even if you're not doing a ritual and you're just in your mind, you're comparing yourself to people and you're saying, I'm better than them, I could do it better than them, I'm in the best of it, I hope that they don't succeed so I can succeed. These are thoughts that are opposite of divine energy. Divine energy says you're everything you'll ever need right now, all at once. You have everything you need right now. You are loved, you are worthy. And so when you're thinking in those ways, you become the witch or the warlock, and you in your thoughts are giving away your vital force, and you're making yourself susceptible to matching and attracting people, places, and things that operate the same way. And then and in this case, you start to become a little bit of a sadist when you enjoy seeing other people who are in a different position than you fail. And that's a witch or warlock. When you enjoy seeing people fail, you're getting a feeling, even if it's bad. It's like bad there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's the same for energy. When you're so deficient in your own energy that you cannot feel vital force anymore, you have to mimic it. So that's what she's saying. By participating in these things, she is recalling that it was never actually, her perception was that she was feeling the warmth when really it was excessive heat, that it was too hot, but she got used to feeling the heat. And so that's why she had to feel the heat all the time. It was something that she could not do. So she's seeing now that it was never, in her perception, she thought that's what success was, that's what happiness was, that's what success was. But now she sees crossed over that it wasn't that at all. So you based your story in that book and tell your own narrative. So darling, you're one of the controller. Either you are or you ain't. And so these faculties may mimic or copy the perception of the senses, but they can never entirely reach the force and vivacity of the original sentiment, of your original state, which is a divine state. You are naturally, your soul is 144,000 hertz. You are a divine spark of God having a human experience. Okay, and then it says, the utmost we say of them, even when they operate with greatest vigor, is that they represent their object in so lively a manner that we could almost say we feel it or see it. Yes, when you identify as something, this goes, oh my gosh, I'm getting so many nuggets for our next episode of Spirit News, Spirit and Identity. When you start to do something ritualistically, habitually, over and over again, the same way, it becomes just the way it is. And you cannot see any other way of doing something, and you start to conform and form yourself around the identity that you're presenting, and you start to believe that that's what you are, and you believe it so greatly that you fight tooth and nail for anyone who opposes that part of you. But the thing is if you're identifying with something that hurts people, that hurts yourself, that hurts children, that makes you do things that feel guilt and shame, is that truly something that you want to be your identity or that you want to identify with? Be careful in allowing yourself to choose those moments where you choose them so often that you don't see it any other way, that there's no other way it could be. Politics. Spirit said politics. It becomes a rigid cage, absolutely. And look at this. You encage yourself. You put yourself in a cage because now I've identified myself as needing to do these things and having these beliefs so often that I don't even know how to identify with anything else. And by not identifying with these strong political beliefs or whatever it is for you, religious beliefs, it's so scary to be anything else that I go 100 times, I've just pedal to the metal. I'm all in for this identity, even if it's opposing your natural state. Oh, hey, crazy hair.
Is my Minecraft like a winter car? Your car?
No, it's not in my car, babe.
Look.
I'll help you look for it, though. Give me 5 minutes, okay?
Okay. Can you watch this down?
No, I'm gonna go upstairs real quick. I'm hungry. Hey, close my curtain, please.
What?
Thank you.
What?
Look at your hair, you crazy man. So funny. Adam. So she's saying these faculties mimic the perception of the senses because you do them so much that it just becomes, you think it's part of your original sentiment. And it becomes the way you operate, and you represent the object of your identity instead of asking yourself, I think it comes down to like a moral compass. When it comes to clearing your field, you have to understand that you're first and foremost non-physical energy. And so what are the qualities of that? If you're doing the opposite of what your natural state is, your mind will start to justify and identify, and you'll start to become the very thing that is the inversion of divine energy. Be careful, lady, it might backfire. Oh my god, he's so adorable. Bless you, protect you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I love him so much. He's my little man. His hair is so crazy right now. Yeah. The utmost we say of them, even when they operate with greatest vigor, is that they represent their object so lively a manner that we could almost say we feel it or see it. But unless the mind is disordered by disease or madness, they never can arrive at such a pitch of vivacity as to render these perceptions. Disease or madness. The only way that if you're identifying with an identity that is constantly angry, that's constantly projecting, that's constantly feeling attacked, that's constantly feeling sad or depressed or any negative emotion, you have to ask yourself, do I truly feel this way, or have I allowed myself to feel this way for so long that I don't know how to feel any other way? And so I just went all in believing that this is who I am. Because I think what's happening for the world is that these people who are hurt and have traumas and have chips on their shoulders are looking for a place to belong somewhere. A renaissance, and they're creating these negative emotions to belong to like political groups or whatever, but these political groups are run by people who already have these negative energy attachments from the inverted rituals they do, and so they're attracting people that have these same energy signatures, not because they're doing the rituals, but because they're inverted. And and that's why so many people are politically charged at this time, because the people who are in power are doing these inversions of energy, and they're attracting the people who are matching that energy. I don't believe she was overly focused with the material world, but her want to achieve and be seen and belong put her into yes, absolutely. And being comfortable, having security and being able to control that, being able to be seen as the person, the woman, the only woman at Harvard University in 1954, It says, they never can arrive at such a pitch of vivacity as to render these perceptions altogether indistinguishable. All the colors of poetry, however splendid, can never paint natural objects in such a manner as to make the description be taken for a real landscape. The most lively thought is still inferior to the dullest sensation. That's what I was saying, it's basically what she's saying is there's a lot of people who lack identity, who latch on to certain identities that they lack, that they're lacking. Hey, gotcha, boy. And so to them, it'll seem real because they don't understand that they're feeling dull, and they're trying to grab any emotion that makes them feel anything. And I'm not just talking about Ruth, or these people in the fertility cults, but also, just everyday people.
I sense your willingness to listen.
I sense your willingness to listen. Thank you. Because people of today are trying to understand who they are without realizing that they need to take a look at the things that hurt them. And so it makes them feel dull when you don't address those emotions and you push them down. You just start to become dull, and you start to want to feel anything, good or bad. It doesn't matter. Why can't you say something from your mind? Why read in the book? That's a great question, Alma. It's not that I can't, it's that, we're doing spiritual development and learning how to read energy, and God can only talk to you through the reference of your own reference library. And so when God speaks to us, we use many different forms, so that way God can articulate a bigger message than my reference library can give. Because I'm not a scholar. I'm just a mom that's a baker that, had childhood trauma and been through my own ritual abuse as a child and was a psychic because of that. So like I'm just trying to understand myself. So it's not that I can't get the messages. I talk to God all the time. It's just that when we come on here, we're trying to give you guys God's messages for why things are the way they are and why certain souls that cross over did the things they did. And so God has instructed me to use many different ways to convey that to you, so you can see physical evidence that I'm not making it up, that I'm not just pulling it out of my butt, that I'm not just, creating it out of thin air. It's actually coming from a source that's has clarity, and it's concise, and it's compassionate, and it's higher. You're trying to read energy from anyone you didn't even know personally. Well, Amma, I have to say that your comments
Adam is waiting
your
for
comments show me that you just don't understand energy, and that's okay. You don't have to understand energy. You're here for a reason. By being here, you are coming onto an awareness that there are different ways to read energy and receive messages from beyond and from non-physical energy, because God is non-physical. God is not a human. God has no human body. God is a man and a woman. God is everything, everywhere, all at once. And so we cannot limit the ways that God can talk to us through our own limitations. As what I'm hearing, you are misleading the listeners. Oh, in what way? Please, how am I misleading them?
remember me.
I can't prove that I am talking to God, but what I can prove is that every message is full of love, it's full of compassion, it's full of wanting to understand why people do the things they do. It has a lesson at the end of it that I think is always valuable for all of us to understand our emotions. And no matter what you believe or I believe, we can both exist at the same time.
Francis.
Okay? Well dealt with, but Amma, we all have free will in our own mind. We can decide what we think for ourselves. Absolutely, Eddie. Live streams are the drags of social media. Well, then why are you here if it's such a drag? Okay, so yeah, that's very interesting. There is, however, one contradictory phenomenon which may prove that it is not absolutely impossible for ideas to arise independent of their correspondent impressions. I believe it will readily be allowed that the several distinct ideas of color which enter by the eye, or those of sound which are conveyed by the ear, are really different from each other, though at the same time resembling. Now, if this is true of different colors, it must be no less so the different shades of the same color, and each shade produces a distinct idea, independent of the rest. Just as what Eddie was saying. You have a mind of your own. Just because someone presents something to you and it makes you feel like you'll belong if you believe what we believe, or we'll take you in if you want to believe this, and we'll get you to higher places. You won't be able to get to where you want to go without us. No, that's not true. And we're all independent. We can all come to this arrival through our own experiences, and we don't have to have a chip on our shoulder to attract things that match that chip on our shoulder. We can actually overcome the chip on our shoulder, get rid of it altogether, and know that anything that's meant for you will be for you. If you're meant to be a lawyer, then it'll be really easy for you becoming a lawyer. If you're meant to be a singer, then it'll be really easy for you to become a singer, and you'll enjoy it. It'll give you energy. You won't have to hurt people. You'll get the idea through divine inspiration. You won't have to take from anybody to have the idea or to sustain it. You'll have vital force that comes from within, where you're not constantly seeking energy grabs to sustain identity that was never meant to be yours in the first place. Okay. Ruth, please end us on a good note on what you learned from all of this. Alone. Oh. She said alone. She did all these things and achieved all these things, but she will never know if she could have done it on her own. She'll never know if she could have achieved any of what she achieved on her own through her own divine inheritance. The art of living happily is also the art of transforming our afflictions. I can't make it up, you guys. The chips on our shoulders. If we want to be happy, we need to identify what is preventing us from being happy. The path to well-being is the path out of ill-being. Sometimes we suffer, but we don't dare to admit it to ourselves, let alone to others. However, only by facing our suffering can we find the way out, the path to well-being. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, she wants me to read this real quick. Disentangling yourself. We may be entangled by our projects, our work, and our fast-paced way of living. We may be caught up in our craving, our restlessness. We may be blocked by our sorrow, anger, or fear. We may have been entangled our whole life by the ropes of anger and fear, or weighed down by a grudge we can't shake off. A relationship with someone close to us may have become overgrown and buried by weeds or misunderstanding. Or perhaps we are caught up in seeking status, money, or sensual pleasures. All these things prevent us from touching the happiness, peace, and freedom that is available right here in the present moment. To disengage ourselves, we need courage and determination. It takes courage to change our livelihood to one that is more in line with our deepest values and aspirations. It takes determination not to get carried away by projects that make us feel stressed or overworked, causing us to neglect ourselves and our loved ones. It takes courage to sit down with our partner, friend, or family member and open up communication. Each one of us needs to identify our ropes so we can cut ourselves free. Of what binds us. We have to make time to sit down and ask ourselves honestly, what is entangling us? Wanting to untie the ropes is not enough. We need to understand why those ropes entangled us in the first place before we can free ourselves from them. How long do you have left to live? What is so important that you let get in the way of your chance to live deeply and happily? When you get your priorities straight, you can let go of the restlessness, frustration, anxiety, and resentment you've been carrying. Thank you so much. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much to Ruth. Thank you to Spirit. Thank you to you guys for being here always. I'm so grateful for the energy exchange. This was a big message, and I'm happy to share it. Tomorrow we're going to do the Delphi girls. So if you'd like to join us, we're going to see if we can help. 1333, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg was, what was it? She was born 1933. I gotcha. Yes, I love you guys so much. Thank you, Eddie, for being here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Robin, Mr. Brad Boy, all my goodies. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 6 a.m. Bye.